What's good, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the 401 Talk Zone radio show. It is August 17, 2016, Hump Day. Here in the Manosphere, Portage, Indiana, I'm your host, Leon Jones. You know, you can catch me on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday from 12 to 2. It's Blog Talk Radio /401 Talk Zone Radio. Like, share, and subscribe to my videos right here on the 401 Talk Zone YouTube edition. Call-in number to my Blog Talk Radio show is 215-383-5785. Have a topic that you'd like for me to discuss on my YouTube channel or on a radio show? Email me, lej6521@gmail.com. Topic for today, as I'm going in my back-to-back video. That's right, I'm going back-to-back on Hump Day. We're going to talk about self-assessment. Very important, because today we're in a politically correct world where we have this victimology, professional victim. It's not our fault, it's somebody else's fault. You're absolutely wrong. See, a real man and a real woman, and I'm going across the board, so this is not racial or gender specific. This is across the board, because regardless of who you are, cultures change. But one thing is clear. When you have the liberals preaching that it's not your fault, we got to call it out. So assessing who you are. First ordeal, you have to look at where you are lacking. Nobody's perfect. We all have flaws. I actually write things down because I never get comfortable with life. That's one thing. Life always changes. You have to keep up with the times. It's fast-paced. But one thing that's clear, when you assess who you are, it's much easier to admit when you're wrong, and you see the world much clearly. See, when you feel like a victim or you're not responsible or accountable, you always have to continue to validate your point, even if it's a lie. Because individuals that are constantly validating are looking for sympathy. The bottom line, full-fledged grown adult looks at himself or herself, and if you can't assess your life by yourself, get hired help. Get a psychologist. There's nothing wrong with that. It does not make you crazy. And I know in the black community, we have this problem with mental health. And this is why we fail to come together as a people, because we are looking at problems that take place, but we believe that white people, like molestation, homosexuality, promiscuity, incest, they all take place in the black community as well. Mental health issues. We don't assess that behavior. Therefore, we run around like a bunch of savages listening to the white liberal media saying it's somebody else's fault. Fascism, political correctness, and the Democratic Party have always held black people down. And it's going to continue to hold black people down until we get a hold of ourselves and take care of our problems. As I said in the video before, 80 to 90% of the problems that we have, we can solve ourselves, but we're just too lazy to, because we're comfortable. We allow the system to keep us in poverty. We don't know who we are and where we're going half the time. You ask a number of us, well, what's your 3 to 5 year plan? I don't know, because we're busy living for the day. It's okay to have short-term goals, but you need to have long-term goals. This is why at the end of my videos, you always hear me say, always be thankful for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us, but you still must be prepared for tomorrow to see tomorrow. But while you're seeing today, you need not to worry about what you don't have. Be thankful, because you're able to see today. That's what I mean by that cliche that I made up at the end of my radio show. Responsibility and accountability are very tough. But let's talk about ways of assessing yourself. Okay, you have a behavior. You curse too much. Well, what is your plan to stop cursing? A very simple one. Spell out the word. Like, I don't curse on my YouTube videos, nor do I curse on the radio. You don't hear me say the word. Well, you may have, maybe one time I said the word B-I-T-C-H. See, I spell it out. Everybody knows what it is, but you're not saying it because it's a blatant word. Weight. That's another problem. How do you address your weight? Easy situation. Because when you assess your weight, if you don't like your weight, you exercise. You don't take as much food in. You exercise your mind. How? By reading. These are examples of self-assessment. You look at where you're going wrong and you write the pros and cons of yourself. And it has to be about you and only you. If I do something, can't blame it on Joe Blow here. I'm responsible. Think of it as an evaluation, a performance evaluation. You evaluate life the same way. We're going to run into different situations. If you have to call your mom and dad to help you through the problem, if they've been through it, that's a source. Utilize your resources. What gives you the biggest confidence in yourself? I know a lot of men and a lot of women don't want to hear this. It's being able to say, number one, you're sorry. Number two, it is my fault. I'm going to correct it with a solution. Keeping your word. That's also part of self-assessment. Now, when I say keeping your word, you must back it up with action. There are different items about ourselves. I could tell you about me. I try to work on my communication skills. I try to work on my health a little bit better. I try to keep myself clean cut because I do YouTube videos. I know there are people watching. And if I come up here looking raggedy, that's what my audience is going to get a perception of me. They're not going to take my content as seriously. So I like to be neat. I'm sweaty right now because it is humid here, but that's okay. My job is to sacrifice, get the content out here because I want each and every one of us to stop blaming someone else for our own mishaps. And this is very important before you attempt a relationship. When you don't assess yourself from a bad relationship, you tend to bring the anger of that bad relationship into a new relationship. Therefore, you haven't made any moves. You're really stuck back here in the old relationship, but with a different person. That happens. You close one door before you open another door. We don't do that. We think we could just forget about it. No, you can't sweep it under a rug. You have to take time to put together a concrete plan of short and long-term goals. And when you assess yourself, you actually find out who you are and you maximize your potential. Because there are going to be days where you have it in your mind that I can't do it. But you're going to overcome. You're going to teach yourself how to step back. You're going to teach yourself how to move forward. Again, this is chess, not checkers. Life out here is a game. It's a challenge. But what you have to do in order to deal with others, you have to look at oneself. You have to look in the mirror at yourself. And you have to be pretty critical about who you are. You can't get in the mirror every day and start primping and say, I look good, when you look hideous. You can't say, I feel good when my eyes are red. And I'm sneezing from allergies. You know, assessing yourself comes in many fathoms. Immune system. Make sure that your teeth are good. That's assessing yourself. That's assessing your outside, your outer appearance. Being clean cut and trim. Keeping your weight down. And when I mean keeping your weight down, and I'll tell you, I have to admit this, when it comes to women, yes, I like big women. I'll be the first one to tell you. I'm on YouTube saying it. But when I say I like big women, I like BBW voluptuous women, the pear shape. I don't like the apple shape. So you can have a large behind and wide hips. But if you assess yourself, you're still going to be beautiful. But assessing yourself is just not on the outside, it's your inside. How do you treat people? Are your manners? Do you speak well? Do you listen? Because we have a number of individuals, particularly when you get older, you get stuck in your ways. And this is why I always tell you that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, if you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you stick that dog out to die and you get a new dog in there that's going to learn the tricks. Because assessment is constantly growing. You have to constantly grow if you're going to fulfill what's in store for you in the real world. And you got to be realistic, too. The problem with us as black folk, and one assessment that we need to do, is stop being on CP time, colored people's time. I know during our holidays. And my mom is real good for this, telling me to be there at 3 o'clock and then we're eating at 6 o'clock. No, you tell me to be there at 3, we eating at 3. We got to learn to be on time. That's a big assessment. That's what gives us the stereotype that we're always late, CP time. Well, I'll make sure I'm on JP time, 30 minutes before I start. Work on those skills. Never say you're bored either. A lot of individuals, I'm bored. There's always something to do. Just because it's not entertainment, take time to read a book. Learn new skills. You only make yourself a better person by participating in areas that you don't like as well. Because what you don't like, you appreciate what you do like. That's the object. And if we try to make ourselves a better person, we feel better about ourselves. That way other people can see it coming from us. But if we have a bad attitude, that's also going to show, and individuals don't want to relate to us. That's why if somebody's talking slick to me, I'm going to have to check them and say, hey, look, that behavior is not acceptable around me. I'm not going to cuss them out. I'm going to do it intellectually. And if they don't want to improve on themselves, I'll walk away because I'm not the one with the problem. But also, we have to admit that we have a problem. I mean, this goes back into the mental health issues, particularly in our black community. We always, for some reason, deny that we have problems. We have our fair share of problems as well. But the white liberal media has told us it's somebody else's fault and we can be victims, and all we're going to do for us as black people, we're going to keep handing them welfare, we're going to keep handing them food stamps, and we're going to keep handing them EBT cards. Free cell phones. Well, that's not assessing the situation. That's temporarily giving us something free. You can't give us anything free because we're not going to maximize our potential. We're going to get complacent. And that's one of the problems too. If you get too comfortable, you're not assessing your own life. And life just passes you by. Now, some people are comfortable, okay? I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. But if you see yourself going in the wrong direction, fix it. Admit that you got a problem. Seek help. I mean, I've sought help. It's okay. Don't let anybody tell you that help isn't out there. If you go to church, utilize your preacher. But make sure that the individuals that you're getting information from are objective too. See, when you get subjective information, then you get biased information, and that causes a problem as well. When I do my videos, I'm objective, cut right down the middle. That's why I don't have to go at anybody hard, because I'm going to do it intellectually. I would make sure that individuals hear my information crisply, clearly, and concisely. Don't have to be an expert. But when you're an everyday person, individuals can relate and they can pick up something from you. And at the end of the day, they might not thank me as a person by shaking my hand, but it can leave me a good comment. Because I appreciate helping people, because individuals have helped me. And that's one thing we have to learn to do for one another. We have to learn how to assess ourselves and say it's our fault. I did this. I apologize. Stop putting it out there on somebody else, because it doesn't help us. And if we do that, particularly in our black community, we'll have less contention between the modern day black woman and the modern day black man. Because going back and forth at one another, it's not going to solve the problem. That's why I'm here to give you the how to do it. And if I can get one or two people to understand my message, I'm doing fine. You have to understand that everybody is not going to agree with your point of view. That's fine. Give somebody an alternative other than theirs, because if you've been doing something for a long time and it continues to be wrong, you have to change it. Because a number of us constantly try the same thing and look for a different result that's not realistic. And don't strive for perfection. What's the definition of perfection? It's getting the maximum results for the minimum amount of work. That doesn't exist. Assessing yourself takes hard work, and you got to be hard on yourself. But you have to assess yourself financially, mentally, spiritually, morally, physically as well. Emotionally. That's how you become a better person. See, some people say life sucks. Life doesn't suck, you suck. There was a song out by this reggae group. It came out a long time ago. Life is what you make it. That's true. We are the deciders on where we want to go, because we're living it. Yes, we have to live in the confines of white supremacy. That's true. There is systematic or institutional racism in the world, and it's by design. It's to keep us at one another. But we have to be educated to know that and assess the situation on how to deal with it. And suicide is not the way out. That makes you look weak. You educate yourself, and you utilize common sense, and you gain wisdom, and you listen to other people who have gone through the same experience that you have. I come up here on YouTube and tell you I'm not perfect, not an expert. But what I will share with you is this information for education. But I will not proclaim to be better than anybody or worse than anybody. And I too continue to assess myself. It's hard work. But I was in the military for 17 years. That was also hard work, sacrifice. And that's part of assessing yourself. And a better way to assess yourself is find somebody that can do something better than you can, and you'll learn from them. Or if you're better than somebody, you can teach. We have to be a student and a teacher at the same time when it comes to assessment. A lot of us fail to realize that. But if we assess ourselves, we learn ourselves even better, and we can make better decisions in life. That's dealing with money, picking a good partner, picking a good job, and just living life in a common sense way. Well, I want to thank you all for listening to this edition of the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show. We went back to back tonight. My name is Leon Jones. Just want you all to remember this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always remember, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Be good to one another and take care. I'm out.